So, maybe you've heard the words mindfulness, meditation thrown around quite a bit recently. Things like burnout, reduced stress, all of this stuff is often associated with it. But what is it? What does it mean? How do I do it? That's what we're going to go through today. So, first of all, what is mindfulness? At its very core, all it is awareness of the present moment. There's a little bit more that we'll go into, but at its very core, that's all it is. It's bringing your attention to the current moment, whatever that is, however you're doing, however you're feeling. So think about your senses. Your heartbeat is one that people often go to as something to ground yourself, but that's all it is at its very core. All these other things that people use, so bringing your attention to your heartbeat, we'll go through different types of mindfulness and meditations in a moment. Things like movement ones, being really aware of how your body feels. These are all ways to bring ourselves back to the current moment and almost ways to anchor ourselves to that moment, things that we can kind of bring our attention to. So that's what it is, and the difference between mindfulness and meditation. So mindfulness is bringing that awareness into your everyday life. So whatever it is you're doing, dinner with your family, going for a walk, whatever that looks like, it's bringing that awareness of the current moment into your everyday life. Meditation is that time that you set aside to really focus on being in the current moment. So people talk about their morning or evening meditation routines, something that you build up as part of your practice. And it's this meditation, or both of it together, this meditation practice that people generally talk about building up over time, and it's that can lead to the benefits and the changes in our mind, but they work really well together. A lot of crossover, very similar. They've used interchangeably quite a bit as well. So, mindfulness and meditation. The opposite of this is called automatic pilot, and you may have come across this. A good example is when you're driving to work or driving anywhere, but normally a route that you've done a lot, and you may be doing your normal work to commute, and you get to the end of your journey and you have no memory of how you got there. Your mind the entire time was busy planning what you're going to do that day, what you're going to have for lunch, the meetings you've got, all the tasks you've got to do. And you may think back and you've got no memory of actually completing that journey. You don't remember the junctions, the cars around you, but you were fine. You were driving there. You just knew it so well that your brain had switched on to other things. So you weren't present at all for that journey. And that can be really helpful. At that point in time, it's probably you get to work and you know what you're doing, you've thought it through. But having that same level of automatic pilot isn't always helpful. Think about potentially meals with your family. If you're actually engaging in that moment, talking to your family, enjoying the food, compared to sitting there and planning the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, things you've got to do. So you can see the difference there. Both are really helpful. Both have their time and their place. It's just learning to develop this skill of being present when we need to. And with the world speeding up, our concentration span getting smaller and smaller, think about things like reels getting faster and faster and shorter, really working on practicing and building this. It's a skill like any other. So hopefully by now, get the idea of what mindfulness is, what it isn't, and we've gone through some rough ideas. We'll go through some more ideas now on different types and how it can fit into your life. So you don't just have to sit there, not moving, legs crossed, just staring at a blank wall. That's not what it has to be. If that doesn't work for you, that's absolutely fine. There are many different ways to bring your attention back to the present moment and really practice this skill. And it's all about finding a way that works for you and is sustainable long term, something you can build into your daily routine. So some examples. There's so many ways to get started. There's different things like guided meditations that you can use. I'll have some on my channel as well. Very exciting. You can have it just silent if you prefer that. You can do things like walking meditations. So this is when you're really aware of everything around you and how it feels. So being really aware of the ground underneath your feet, the air on your face, maybe the sun on your face, the smells of the outside, the noises that you can hear. You can see how it builds up from having a walk where you're planning your day, maybe listening to something and not being present at all, to having that really mindful walk where you're really aware of it and you're really feeling it and experiencing it in that moment. I'm not saying all walks have to be like that, but maybe try and incorporate a few. movement meditations as well. So yoga is a form of this. It doesn't have to be like that if you don't want to. It can be really small movements. It can obviously depend on your physical ability. So just really simple things like moving your arms up and really noticing how it feels. And then you can link that in with your breath as well if you want to. So there's lots of different things like that that you can try. Try adding, often when we get started, it can be really strange because we're not used to paying attention to the current moment, which means our mind creates a lot of thoughts, which is what our mind does. Some are right, some are wrong, some are good, some are bad. It doesn't matter. That's what it's going to do, and it's always going to do that. If you spend all of your life not paying attention to these thoughts, sitting still for a couple of minutes doesn't mean your mind's going to go silent. That's not what we're hoping for. It's just about bringing your attention to what you've decided to focus on in that present moment. So whether it is that walk and it's the ground beneath your feet, whether it's a guided meditation you're listening to, or whether you're incorporating other things. So maybe you've got a candle lit that you can smell, and you can use that smell to help bring you back to the current moment when you notice yourself getting caught up in those thoughts. So there's some different ideas that you can try. So we've gone over what meditation is, different types that you can try, and now, last little bit, I'm going to go over the 9 pillars of mindfulness. Now, this isn't something that you have to know in great detail. It's just something that you can kind of bear in mind as you're doing it. And I think it helps give you that little bit more knowledge. So you know what you're going into, you know what you're thinking about and how it is. And also it links back into more of the bigger picture of mindfulness and how it then has all these benefits on the rest of your life. So, number 1. Beginner's mind. So this is when you're willing to see things as if for the first time. So if you think about your mindfulness practice, you may have a guided meditation that you go to. If you keep doing this guided meditation, but each time you come up and you expect it to be like it was the last time you did it, you're not going into it with that beginner's mind. You're going into it with those expectations from what happened last time. Another example, maybe you're doing a body scan meditation, and last time you had a little niggle in your back or something like that, and as you're working down you get to your back and you're anticipating that niggle. Again, not going in with beginner's mind, you're not going to get the most from it. Second one, non-judgment. So this is non-judgment of yourself and your thoughts, as well as generally others, but being able to witness our thoughts. So like I said, our mind is always going to come up with thoughts, good, bad, how helpful, not helpful, and it's being able to watch them from a distance and not attach that judgment to them, because when we attach that judgment to them we kind of latch on, and that creates an emotional pull. We're not creating that, we're creating that distance when those thoughts come up. Everyone has those thoughts, that's completely normal, and that's okay. That's what will happen, especially at the beginning when you're first getting started. So try not to attach that judgment to those thoughts. Third one, acceptance. Being open to seeing things as they really are. Now, this doesn't mean being really passive in the real world, that's completely different, but actually seeing things as they are and looking at them and recognising them. And again, thought it's similar to non-judgment, like crossing over. You're going, oh okay, recognise that thought, I recognise it, it's okay, it's there, that's it. And more often than not, it fades. It's when you attach that power to it and that emotion to it that it lingers around and we start to spiral. I'm talking about like it's really easy. It's not. A lot of the thoughts we have, there's a lot of strong emotions attached to them, and it does take time to get there. But just keeping this in mind, that what we're trying to do is have that beginner's mind, that non-judgment, that acceptance about it. Okay. Letting go. So again, these are all linking together. So it's that non-attachment and ability to accept things as they are again. And when that thought comes, we're not judging it, we've accepted it and we're letting it go. Trust. Now this is quite an important one of my favourite ones. So trusting the process and trusting yourself and your feelings. So firstly, trusting the process, it will change. You will have times when you're enjoying meditation, times when you're hating it, times when you're feeling it's not clicking. Trusting the process, that over time it's the consistency that has the benefits and the magic. It's not the 1 hour session that you do every 6 months. It's the 10-15 minutes that you build up every day that really has that impact. So trust. but then also being able to trust yourself and your feelings. So very often we don't think about how we're feeling. We're very good at pushing things away, ignoring things, shutting things down, or completely getting distracted by something else. So maybe we turn to, if we're feeling sad, we're feeling lonely, we're feeling upset or anxious, maybe we turn to our phone and we do some scrolling, and we're completely shutting out that feeling. We're not embracing it, we're not thinking about it, we're not thinking about what we can do to help. We're literally ignoring that feeling and scrolling and doing something like that. So trusting yourself and learning to trust your feelings is something that comes over time, but also something to think about. Patience, again, linking in trust in the process and patience with the process. Things will unfold in their own time. Non-striving. So we are not striving for anything when we sit down in that meditation. I do not mean we are not striving in life. That is, I'm the opposite of that. In life, if there's things we want to do, yes, go for them. But non-striving in our meditation means that we don't sit down and expect that in the next 2 minutes we are going to feel so relaxed, it's going to solve all of our problems. That's not what it is about at all. So some meditation sessions are really relaxing, some are really stressful, some have lots of thoughts coming up. If we've had a busy day, our mind's going to reflect that. Our meditation session is going to reflect that, and that's okay. We are not striving for something. It's still getting it done and sitting there and being in our thoughts. I will say a slight disclaimer around this one. If you're really struggling, you've gone through something traumatic, it could be worth turning to other helpful techniques and mechanisms that you've used instead of mindfulness right there and then if something's happening. But this again links into trusting your body and your feelings and knowing what time is right. And I don't mean just like a normal stressful day at work. I mean, if there's a lot of thoughts coming up, sometimes just sitting there in it isn't helpful at that point in time. Sometimes it's helpful to do something that works for you before and then come to it when you're feeling more settled and you know you're not going to just sit in it. Gratitude. So bring your attention to the good in life, and also generosity. I'll link those two together because they do link in. So generosity is about happiness to others. Gratitude, bring the attention to what is good. So all of these are the 9 pillars of mindfulness. They all link in together. Some I think link in more, especially when we're a beginner and things that we're getting used to. So things like the not striving, the beginner's mind, being really open to these things. And then the other ones kind of fall into place as we go. So we've covered quite a lot in the 12 minutes there. We've gone over basics of mindfulness, different types that you can try, and then the 9 pillars. So just bear those 9 pillars in mind as you're getting started. Use them, maybe check in on yourself, maybe do it for like a month or so, a week or so, see how you're getting on and see if there are any of these 9 pillars that maybe you're not going against. Maybe you are judging your thoughts a lot, maybe you are striving for it to be a really peaceful experience, and that's fine, that's absolutely fine. It's all about learning and practicing, and then over time you'll gradually build up that practice, and then those benefits that the research talks about and that other people talk about all the time, the reduced stress, anxiety, things like that will slowly come. So I hope that was helpful. Like and subscribe if it was helpful, and there'll be more things coming, and I will see you very soon. Have a lovely day.